What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to the Tuffy Talk live show. You got myself, Wayne Smith, and Michael Tracy here jumping in, talking all things NC State. And man, do we have all things NC State to talk about. We'll be joined here shortly from one or two other members from the Tuffy Talk crew. Again, we got a lot to get to here, but as always, we got our amazing people here tuning in here with us. And if you've been with us for, you know the drill. Any comments, questions, concerns, requests, whatever may be, throw them in the chat and we will get to all of them here today. But with that being said, Michael, first and foremost, man, obviously there's been a lot of downs for sure, especially, with a lot of, I guess, concern or, more around the men's basketball side for sure. And obviously a little bit of concern about baseball if that the re-loss weekend in Florida was a sign of things to come, or was that, just a little bit of a blip on the radar. But I would easily say this weekend that a lot of those concerns were easily turned upside down, and man, was there a lot of good things talked about for sure.
Yeah. I mean, stuff changes quick around here. Unfortunately that when we're talking men's basketball, it had to change because it wasn't good, but
right.
It's all looking up right now.
For sure. And we'll definitely talk about it here for sure. But, one good thing that's definitely not going to, I guess we'll go ahead and get out of the way, is the rescheduling of the Why Not Both documentary, which is coming out Wednesday night, 9 p.m. So, hey, that's a positive, definitely, especially now that the move has been made with Keats. Like, it's going to be interesting for sure. But honestly, it's like, hey, listen, now I can just look at this for what it is instead of looking at it as like, really focusing as much on everything around it. I mean, like I could just enjoy the documentary for what it is, which was one of the greatest moments in NC State athletics history. I mean, would you kind of agree with that? Or do you think that allows some state fans are going to look at it as like, the fact that it's Keats,
the ending.
I think exactly.
It's definitely better now. I'm glad they waited to run it. Yeah. Cause I mean, they had it scheduled to run the day after he got fired.
Well, I wonder and we didn't really talk about why it got rescheduled, but do you think at all? I mean, obviously probably, the timing of it, probably wouldn't have made a lot of sense, but also too, do you think that cause there's in there has to be a question of or a comment from Keats be like, we are trying to build this program to be this or to do this.
Right.
I feel like at that, now, they have to probably edit those out somehow. I mean, I don't know, just because those comments now in the documentary like that would be kind of cringy.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I read something they weren't gonna like go back and add stuff about him being fired, but yeah, there may have been a few parts, probably maybe like like you were saying, like forward-looking statements from Keats that maybe they had to edit out now. But
yeah,
back to your original point, though, yes, I do agree. It's going to be a much more enjoyable watch now, like you said, looking at it for what it was, the run, and knowing that it's going to be an exciting upcoming year now, when a lot of people would not have been. They would have been really, really down on the team going into next year with Keats coming back. But
yeah. So let us know in the chat, y'all. What do y'all think? Are y'all excited for it? Let us know, and we definitely want to see y'all's reactions to it. But with that being said, one other big thing though, which I want to get to, which is kind of the most recent of them all, is the 83-49. I mean, just whatever terminology you want to add to it. I mean, donkey kicked, whatever you want to call it, game that we just watched. I mean, wow, just. And because the other thing too is that once again, we really didn't play our best ball as a team, but in terms of Isaiah James, Sanaya Rivers, and Madison Hayes, I mean, if there was any doubt that this was their last game in Rails Coliseum, this box score easily, just screams that out to you. I mean, 26 points from Isaiah James, 10 for 17 in the field. Madison Hayes at one point was 4 for 4 from 3 before settling at a still insanely impressive 5 for 7 from 3. And then Sanaya Rivers, I mean, again, 17 points, 11 assists, 8 rebounds, 9 rebounds for Madison Hayes, 6 rebounds for Isaiah James. I mean, and all that being said, Zoe Brooks literally did not score a single basket in terms of from the field.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
She had one free throw. She had 1 point. So
that's crazy.
I mean, so for this, would you, like, do you really take much out of this, Michael? Besides more just, hey, huge hats off and love to see that from the 3 seniors then ball out tonight or ball out today.
No, I think like looking at the metrics, like States Anywhere, depending on which metric you're looking at, the net, or I think Bartorovic does a women's ranking too. It States Anywhere in the 10 to 15 range. And but Michigan State's like in the 20 to 25 range, or like consensus, they're top 25 team, right? And I think they were probably a little bit underseeded just based on their metrics. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at their schedule. They may have had some bad losses in there, which is why they dropped down to a 7. But metrically, they were more like a 5 seed, 4 or 5 seed. So I mean, I think you can take a little bit more away from this than you would. Like if this was the game we played last on Saturday against Vermont, it'd be like, okay, if that's a 15 seed, this is what we're supposed to do. When really the games were switched. That Vermont game was probably closer. We pulled away. I think it was a 20 point win, but it was close at halftime. And this game was like the complete opposite of that. So I think that was kind of a little bit of a wake up call on Saturday against Vermont, and they really took it to them today.
Oh yeah, no, 100%, and love to see it honestly too, and especially, and we'll get to their next matchup against LSU. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. But again, I mean, I completely agree with you the fact that hey, it was a get right game, but also too as well. I mean, with the Vermont game, I mean, keep in mind we were favored by 20.5 points and we won by 20. Mm-hmm. So it definitely was a little bit more stressful than you hope. But I mean, watching that game, there wasn't really honestly a point where I was below a 9 in confidence for that game. Like a little bit of concern, but then once we took the lead at halftime, I said, oh well, we're not giving it up now at this point. We're good. We're fine. So, but yeah, I mean, and if we go and check out the team stats here, because why not?
That's crazy. We shot 50% across the board on field goals, 3 points, and free throws is not good to shoot.
Oh, that's so true. That's hilarious, actually.
Just funny. We were right at 50% on everything. And the 3 point, I mean, everybody was just hitting those. It was crazy.
Yeah. No, I mean, out rebounded them even, which is awesome. 44 to 29. Which I mean, if we out rebound you, then that puts that's going to win us 95% of our games right there.
That's been a struggle at times, rebounding.
So, but I mean, I think for the most part, I mean, for a game like this where we really we really took our foot off the gas basically like
Yeah.
halfway through the fourth quarter. So I mean, this game could have been way worse than it actually was. I mean, we scored at least 20 points in the first three quarters, but then we scored 14 in the fourth quarter. So could have been way worse for sure. So, for this one, hey, listen, sky's the limit, especially because of the fact that Zoe Brooks and Tilda were basically, just like afterthoughts really for this game. But once again, I mean, Lorena Wu, I'm telling you, man, like it'll be a really interesting thing to see what happens with Westmore in terms of acquisitions from this upcoming offseason. But because the big thing for me is going to be, does he go all in on Tilda and Awu, or does he go and get some help?
Yeah, it depends on. I think it's going to depend on the resources he has to work with. Meaning, NIL he gets this offseason. Just because you are gonna you have to backfill for Sanaya, Madison, and Isaiah,
right?
And I mean, Zoe Brooks will be back, Zam Jones will be back, so those two kind of have the two guard spots. But your three and your four are, I mean, Quigley's look good.
Yeah,
Lacey Steele's giving you some decent minutes, but I don't know if you can count on her full time next year. No. So I think your three and you really got to prioritize the 3 and the 4, those wing players, because of who you're losing. And then I wouldn't be surprised to see us go after another big. But I think only like I said, if he has the resources to work with, and we get the wing guys taken care of.
Well, especially because West loves to be guard heavy too, and probably even have definitely more depth than he had this season. So I would definitely say, definitely watch out. Now, I mean, there are a couple of freshman guards that'll be coming in, but that you can't really expect them to be much more than depth pieces heading into next season, or at least I don't want them to necessarily be, unless they're another Zoe Brooks, which, I mean, if there's Zoe Brookses, that are coming up, then so be it.
Yeah.
But
but again, they're guards. You need some need some wing players too.
That's right. Now, NC State will take on LSU, a familiar opponent for NC State.
I just saw that final score. Like I was keeping track of it, and it was. I think they were only up 1 at halftime. I was like, okay, this might be close. And then I looked at the final, and they won by 30.
Well, this is the crazier part, Michael. So literally the score is 50-49 at halftime. The second half, LSU won 51-22 in the second half. 51-22.
That's a little scary. That's a little scary. But
and FSU has just been such a, I don't know, like, but that's a couple different teams. That's a couple different teams in the ACC.
Defense has always been the issue with Florida State. I mean, I think they had a top 10 offense. Like, what's her face? Latson, is that who it was? I mean, she was for Florida State.
Oh yeah,
I mean, she was up there. I think she had 30 tonight too, even with the loss. But yeah.
I mean, but the funniest part, Michael, and I know you and I will appreciate this, but the over/under for the game was 169.5. So at halftime, you were feeling phenomenal, and then you barely squeaked it out. Like, holy smokes, you were probably at halftime like saying book it, and then you were sweating it in those last few seconds there to get the over to hit. So but either way, I mean, here's my thing, Mike. I know that you and I are in a group that we kind of texted about this, but literally the tournament for me didn't really start for women until yesterday. I mean, the fact that you had one close call where, I mean, I think it was Belmont that went against Kentucky, where, I mean, Kentucky barely squeaked it out. Like, it definitely wasn't the prettiest win, but I mean, you didn't have one single upset greater. Like, every single 6 seed or higher won their initial matchup. So that's just my biggest frustration with the women's tournament is, I mean, like how many 105 to 40 wins did we see between USC, UConn, I think UConn, and then South Carolina and Southern California. I mean, all 3 of them absolutely demolished their opponents. Which, again, I get there's 16 seeds, but again, I mean, just the women's game is just so top heavy, especially compared to men's. So
it's
definitely
a
different beast.
It definitely got better, I'd say, in the last 4 or 5 years. But yeah, when you still are looking at first round games in the tournament, yeah, it's really all blowouts.
Yeah, no, it really is. Preacher Man saying here, hold on. I got you, Preacher Man. Hold on. I got you. Let me should have had it ready to go, honestly.
You know what really grinds my gears?
When a program sticks the visiting team radio announcer outside. I didn't know about this, Michael. Do you know about this?
I saw the tweet.
Okay,
yeah,
I haven't seen it.
From the Pitt baseball series. Rob McClam was like gave a shout out to Tony Haynes for calling the game when they're. It's like the booth is outside. It's an outdoor booth for the radio.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, shout out Tony Haynes. Yep. So yeah, Preacher Man, you got it. Yeah. No, I mean, hey, listen, whatever it takes, love it. But the man, the myth, the legend, Tony Haynes. I mean, what's also too, that's definitely not his first time or even second time calling a game at Pitt. So I'm sure. So I'm sure he was well aware of the circumstances. But hey, it just goes to show people have it worse than us. Shockingly enough, as crazy as to believe. So, but let's talk a little baseball here real quick. I know we obviously don't have our man Greg Lake here with us, Michael, but I mean, took care of business. Was kind of hoping a little bit that we could find a way to get the sweep. But once again, I look at our counterparts down at over at UNC where they were sweating a little bit heading into that third game. Saying, are we about to blow a series against 10-10 Boston College? And I guess unfortunately they took care of business. But for us, it's hey, listen, took care of business, got the job done. And in an ACC league right now, that every single win counts, every single win matters. It's a tough ACC league this year, and so hey, listen, I'm not going to complain about coming out of a weekend with more ACC wins than losses.
Yeah. I mean, you said in two ACC series, 2 ACC series wins. Last Sunday against Virginia Tech, we had like one bad inning. We gave up a ton of runs and
14 runs, score, 1 inning.
Yeah. Final score was like 20-6, I think, or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then this Sunday, it was we just couldn't hit. You couldn't get those key hits. Like really, the whole weekend we didn't hit well, but we were hitting it kind of in the right spot. Like the game I was watching, I don't remember if it was Friday or Saturday, but I think we scored 3 runs, and the ball we didn't hit the ball out of the infield. They were just like well placed grounders, and you just kept moving guys around. And sometimes that's baseball, but you just couldn't kind of string those hits together on Sunday.
Right.
And also had one less inning to do it because that got called. But
yeah, because of hail, right?
No, because of the travel. Like,
oh, that's right. That's right. No, I did know they were dealing with hail during the weekend too, which is also hilarious in baseball season. But
yeah,
it is what it is. So
yeah, but yeah, you just really hope, especially with Virginia Tech and Pitt. Like Pitt's, I don't know if Pitt will make a regional. Virginia Tech may. I think they got a series win this weekend. But yeah, it would have been nice to get that sweep against Pitt. One of the easier teams left on your schedule. But you get the series win. That's what's important. So.
Absolutely. But coming up for them, so right now they're sitting at 17-7 overall, 4-2 in the conference. And this week you got USC Upstate at home tomorrow night, 6 p.m. And then you have a series on the road, quote unquote, at Duke. Who hasn't been the Duke that we have seen in years past, not quite as dominant, but a team that I'm not sleeping on, but just hasn't started as strong as I know that they've been hoping for. So, definitely can't go into this series sleeping. Take care of business once again, one at a time. Rely on your pitching to keep you in it and get the job done with the hitting. So that's really kind of where we're at. Just still business as usual. Not really too much more added than that. Now, the one thing, Michael, jump back to women's basketball real quick is Did you find it fascinating at all that West Virginia, the 6th seed, playing at number 3 seed UNC, and going into the game, West Virginia was favored by 2.5 points? Did you find that interesting at all? Did you know that?
I did, and I did right off the bat, but I was looking at the same thing kind of when I was looking at our game versus Michigan State, and West Virginia's like, I think they're a top 10 team in net, like, so their metrics are even better. So, you know, I think that's kind of where it's taken into account. But I was checking that. What is that score right now?
33-30, Carolina. 4:47 left in the third quarter. So
yeah, that's gonna be a low scoring game. Wow.
Yeah, no, right now the live over under is 112. So, yeah, very low scoring for sure. Defensive heavy, which, I mean, you're not surprised. I mean, Carolina's this year has been one of the best defenses in the ACC, so not really too surprised, honestly. But yeah, it'll be interesting, you know, if UNC could squeak this one out. But you know, go Mountaineers. So all day, every day. So Michael, let's jump into it, man. I mean, where there's a will, there's a Wade, man. I know that a lot of NC State fans are worried about it, man. You're like, oh, is Texas going to make a run? You know, are they going to, try and go after Will Wade? And I mean, here's my thing. First of all, I want to say, like I think I saw this tweet where it kind of like summarized, like the new hires, so far for men's basketball. I talked about, the new Miami hire, Ryan Odom going to Virginia officially, Sean Miller going to Texas. Yeah, Texas. Yep. Sean Miller going to Texas. And here's my thing, like, looking at those, I'm sitting here saying, and again, it's 100% is probably a biased take, but I'm sitting here like, none of those really like really jumped off at me besides Will Wade, my man. And like, not only, and I say that because not only are we the ones talking about it, but like nationally, like, again, it's just like interview left and right and national person left and right talking about how great of a hire it was, to get Will Wade. And then I'm looking at Sean Miller getting hired by Texas, being like, oh, he went to Xavier twice, did well. At Arizona, he got to one Elite Eight, won a couple of 12 titles. But I'm sitting here like if you're Texas fans, like, is that really moved the needle much for you? I mean, he's a name that's, going to make you competitive, but I just think you've seen his ceiling. That's kind of my thing with that hire.
Yeah. I mean, that got announced real quick after they announced they were letting go of Rodney Terry. So they obviously had him set all along. That's who they wanted to hire. I don't know. I've heard that the SEC didn't want Will Wade back in the SEC, so those teams weren't looking at him. And I don't know. I think people were just kind of apprehensive based off what he got in trouble for at LSU, which is all now legal, pretty much.
Yep.
Right? I mean, Bruce Pearl at Auburn, they stuck with him. They got through it and like paid off. Like Rick Pitino, kind of the same thing. It's just like, if you're a good coach, and I know you got in trouble before, but it's something that's legal. Like, I think that's like, those are the guys that have had the most success. The ones that will they'll do anything to win. And it's not like, they're paying people, but that's all legal now. So it's like, I think he's the best coach available, and that seems to be a consensus. And like you said, nationally, the hire has been like, not just like approved of, but like, excited for and doubled down on by like Charles Barkley on CBS, calling NC State one of the best jobs in the country.
So Charles like, dang, okay, Charles, appreciate that, man. I'll take it. And I mean, and here's my thing too. I was listening to 99.9 a little bit, and some NC State caller called in and said, I'm telling you right now, Will Wade is going to be the best basketball coach in the history of basketball in the state of North Carolina. And literally the 99.9 host went like, and even I went like, I'm sitting here like, listen, man, I'm sipping the Kool-Aid just like you are, man. Like, there's no doubt about it. I I am completely 100% bullish on NC State basketball right now. Like I am like buckled in, ready to go on what assistant coaches we get, what transfers we get. Like, you know, I am so excited and ready to go to find out, you know, what this team's going to look like for next season. And listen, I'm sitting here also saying, hey, listen, I love the fact that we signed him for 6 years. I think that's phenomenal, you know, kind of a definite commitment from both sides on, you know, to, you know, see where this thing goes. And, you know, and he's, you know, 43 years old, you know, very young, still got a lot of career ahead of him. And I mean, you know, listen, you know, definitely NC State, even though at NC State, you know, we've had some great coaches, you know, arguably some of the best coaches in the history of the ACC. Listen, man, sky's the limit. I'm definitely not going to say that he has, you know, let's say the upside of specifically the top two themselves. But I'm sitting here saying, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if 30 years from now that he was in that conversation. You know, I mean, because it's open. You know, I'm sitting here saying, like, listen, I get it. The SEC, you know, if he had the option, he would probably want to go back. But I'm also sitting here saying, listen, if we can gain steam in this Carolina State, this Duke NC State rivalry, where we're firmly in the mix between those three schools, I mean, we're going to be able to give, in terms of publicity from a money side, everything that, you know, within reason that he would get from the SEC side. But also too, as well, is that, like, with any big program right now in the SEC side, I mean, they're pretty stapled with who they have, you know, right now. Like, you know, it's probably not going to change anytime too soon. So, you know, that's kind of my 2 cents on that. But Mike, what's your thoughts on that? And then Carson, what's going on, bud? I'd love to get you in on this. But Mike, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I think there's no reason that he can't have that high level continued success. You know, like, just because of where the ACC is, the legendary coaches have, you know, retired or left. His personal track record of succeeding pretty much at every stop. And the biggest part of it is NC State actually making a serious commitment, serious investment financially into a coach, a full staff, NIL, rev share, and just going full in. Like, that, to me, that's like, you know, I don't know. I think there's a certain floor that you'll meet with Wade. Like, obviously with Keats, we had the bottom drop out a couple times, but he also was able to get you to the top once. And Oh,
absolutely. Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
And I think there is a higher chance of Wade doing that consistently and more often with the backing that we appear to be putting forward.
Yeah. Well, because here's my thing too, Carson, I'd love to get you in, man. Like, it's been a while since, like, you know, for a men's basketball game where I, like, you know, parked, you know, towards, you know, Trinity, you know, in between, like, the indoor facility and where Carter Finley kind of meet, like that parking lot right there, and, like, walked to PNC Arena wearing my NC State basketball jersey and been like, oh yeah, like, it's going down tonight. You know what I mean? Like, it's been a while since I've felt that. And I'm sitting here saying, I mean, listen, man, like, it's going to be so awesome that, I mean, hopefully most home games for at least next season, if not the next couple of seasons, if not, hopefully for as long as Will Wade is here, that, I mean, I'm hoping that I can go and park in that area and feel that juice once again. Like, it's been a while since we've had that. Carson, that's for you, buddy. You got me?
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, I love this hire. And I think a lot of the reason why I like it is because of the amount of NIL that we've raised for it, right? A lot of this is not about Will Wade. It's more about just the university actually stepping in and taking basketball seriously.
Yep. Right. Now, I real quick, I want to get to a couple comments here, and then I want to jump back into that in terms of taking basketball seriously there. But Michelle saying, good marvelous Monday, Wolfpack Nation. Women's basketball is Sweet 16 bound again. Love it. And yes, all about it. And excited to see what we can do against a really good LSU team. Children saying, I'm looking forward to being relevant on a consistent basis. I believe that will happen with Wade. Oh, you best believe it. We're going to be relevant for sure. Like plant your flag in that. Like we're going to be relevant for sure. Kyle asking, have y'all heard anything on us flipping the Kansas commit? Heard there's a lot of smoke there. Just for a little bit of context there, what he's talking about specifically is right now we're looking at going after an assistant coach named Ryan Bernardi, who right now is the head coach over at Prolific Prep in California. And he's a guy that actually used to coach at a school local to here, actually called the Burlington School. Won 2 state titles, won, I believe, 2 or 3 titles in California since he's been there. He's only, I think, like 28 years old, 27, 28 years old, something like that. Like, he's very young. But, I mean, he is proven that he is up and coming very quickly for sure. And one of the guys he has playing on his team is a Kansas commit, I believe one of the top players in the country right now.
Yeah, I think he's number 2 behind the
number 2 behind the UNC commit.
Went to the BYU guy who got like $8 million NIL. BYU.
So is there any chance of us flipping the Kansas commit? I mean, listen, it's.
I think it's all speculation at this point. I don't think there's really been anything solid. I think it's just people connecting the dots that this coach has been rumored to be an assistant, which that's not confirmed either. And people are just looking at who's on the team, who's on his team. But I don't know, maybe that'd be great.
I mean, listen, I from sources for sure, like it is very much legitimately a conversation. Like, I mean, Ryan is 100% actually talking to Will Wade, no doubt about it. Now, in terms of how serious the conversations are, in terms of, if he's actually getting an offer, not really sure. But I mean, I would more likely suspect that if Ryan Bernardi comes, that definitely is going to be number 1 on Ryan and Will Wade's list, is trying to see if we can make something like that happen. Because obviously that would be huge, to say the least, for sure. And especially with a guy like Ryan, where this guy has been successful with, it's not a crazy thought for sure. Like, if I'm a Kansas fan, for sure, I'm definitely a little bit nervous for sure. Not necessarily feeling, that confident that it's a sure thing right now for sure. So, but Mike, I do want to kind of jump into now kind of the interesting part of the night where we talk about kind of Carson's back, cool. So if it's okay, Mike, I'd love to get Carson's initial thought on this conversation here. But so Carson, so I know that basically, let's kind of put it like this. So, with men's basketball, there's been a lot of money that has been put forth over the last weeks towards the men's basketball program. A couple million for sure is definitely the best general way to say it. Would you say that this is solidifying that men's basketball is going to be held at a higher status than football will be for the near-ish future? Or do you think that they both can be still on a high pedestal? Like, do you think that like now, like NC State fans are like cementing, like, nope,
good question.
Basketball is going to be a focus?
No, I think from the fans' perspective, there's still going to be that football first fan base.
Really?
Yeah.
Even after this movement?
I think after this movement, yeah.
Wow.
I think at its core, NC State is a football first fan base, but we still love our basketball. I think in the next few years, though, basketball season, at least for this upcoming year, basketball season will be more looked forward to than football. I think.
Yeah.
Yes. No doubt.
And I think with regards to the money raising, I think with that combined with the new chancellor, I think that we've finally come to this realization that if football and basketball and baseball and women's basketball, if they are successful, that provides resources for all these other parts of the university to succeed.
Yep. And we'll definitely get into that piece. But yeah, I mean, Michael, I mean, would you, you know, I know you and I kind of said interesting for sure in terms of Carson's take. So what's your thoughts on that question?
Yeah, I think it depends on who you're asking. I think the older side of the fan base are definitely basketball first, just because of the history there. But yeah, I probably would agree that the younger side is more football first. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting question because basketball's easier to invest in and easier to win, right? A couple $1 million makes a big difference to a roster and a coach.
Yep.
That can be a national title contender and, you know, takes tens of millions of dollars to be a national title contender in football. So,
yeah, well, you only have like 12 roster spots to put together.
Right.
And in football, you have over 50.
Yeah, I was gonna say over 50 or 60 you're truly investing in. Yeah, agree with you there. And honestly, like, and Michelle really says it best. I want Lenovo Center to be as rowdy as Carter Finley. Like that's my thing is like,
at least for ACC games. At least for ACC games.
Well, see, that's my biggest thing is that, you know, people like we have had these conversations for a couple of years being like, you know, should men's basketball go back to Reynolds Coliseum? And I've always said, I said, listen, I was there in 2012 when we played Carolina and you know, and you know, went up on 20 and, you know, Rodney Purvis, you know, slammed that ball. And literally, like, dude, I'm telling you, the roof shook. Like, it was like so loud and insane. It was by far one of the craziest environments I've ever been in. I'm like, we can still have that. Like that's not lost. But it's just unfortunately the last couple of hires, starting with Herb, you know, through Sydney, through Mark Godfrey, through you know, Kevin Keats, you know, solid for sure. Definitely did, you know, some good things, but just never really kind of gave us that high ceiling where just repetitivity like was excitement after excitement after excitement. Besides that 1 year with Mark Godfrey, but you had a stacked lineup between Rodney Purvis, DJ Warren, Scott Wood, Lorenzo Brown, you know, CJ Leslie, Scott Wood. Like that was just a stacked team. But like I would say I was really kind of the last year, in my opinion, where it was just a constant, like, great environment after great environment. So I think this year will prove once and for all that Lenovo Center is where in-state men's basketball needs to be, and we need to put away these whole conversations of men's basketball going back to Reynolds Coliseum. It is just ridiculous.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the Canes games. Look at those atmospheres. I mean, obviously the Canes have a much bigger fan base than State because they literally represent two states. But I mean, I mean, the atmosphere in PNC, I mean, it can get good, and it is a big recruiting spot for players as well. I mean, you are playing in an NBA size arena. That's attractive to players. I don't think I mean, obviously, when we're playing like Detroit Mercy in November and it's a Tuesday night, do not expect the atmosphere to be very top tier.
Rowdy. Agree. But, Michael, what's your thoughts?
This upcoming season, like we're playing in Maui, the Maui Invitational, and it's not a great field this year. It's like I think Texas is the other big name school. I think Creighton too. But like after that, like we should definitely like have a chance to win that, and winning that early in the season, like that would be huge for you know, perception and the publicity early in the season.
Yep.
And then we got Kansas. We got Kansas at home this year. That should be fun.
I was about to bring that up with all this excitement going around. You have the Kansas Jayhawks coming to Raleigh in December.
And they've struggled the last 2 years. Bill Self has struggled adjusting to this portal. So it's not, I know they beat us by 15 this year, but we obviously stunk this year.
Well, and that's definitely going to be a game where you're going to see tickets selling for double of face value, at least for sure. Like that's going to be a big ticket game. So, But anyway, though, I want to bring up here because now we've had two different people talk about it in terms of Ben Middlebrooks entering the transfer portal. Do you think that a lot of others, or do you think Will Wade would want anybody from this team? I mean, Michael, what's your initial thoughts on that? Yeah, I mean, like, let's put it this way. My first thought is, listen, don't be surprised whoever leaves.
Yeah,
get a little bit surprised who stays for the most part. I mean, because I mean, like I would say, like, unless you're like the only guy I wouldn't be surprised is, I mean, like, he proved that he's by far probably the highest ceiling player from last year's team is Paul McNeil. So don't be surprised. But I mean, I'm sitting and saying, listen, like I'm more likely expecting a complete roster overhaul. I wouldn't be surprised if next year is a bunch of guys that were not on the team last year.
Correct. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I would like to see Paul McNeil return because he definitely seems like, he's a North Carolina guy. He definitely seemed, bought into NC State. And like you said, flash some upside there. I'd like to see him return, obviously for the right price, but we should have plenty of funds to keep somebody like that if we need to.
Do now.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
But with Middlebrooks, I think it's just,
he was terrible,
which is
this
weird.
Year.
He
so bad.
He struggled. Everybody struggled, but I get, and like apparently he's trying to get a 5th year of eligibility, which is kind of crazy, but that's what he's going for because he played all 4 years, so he should be out. But the rules are always changing, and
I mean, he averaged 7.5 points a game, and really a couple of games really is what brought him up to that 7.5. But I mean, most games you wouldn't be surprised if he had under 5 points. Now, Kyle brings up another name, which is definitely very enticing in terms of Trey Parker. But I don't know, Carson. I would be shocked if Wade. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, with Will Wade if he takes one and builds around rather than keeping both. But I don't know. It really just does depend, in my opinion, because I mean, obviously, he does not like. Here's the thing I love about Will Wade. He's a very analytical head coach, very analytics based head coach. And he really does a great job of roster construction. Like, I mean, like he said outright that, I mean, he built his team around what was going to be successful in conference to take care of, their own first. Like, take care of the conference first, because if you win the conference, you go to the NCAA tournament. So just focus on that. So, I mean, looking at the ACC, do you think that, listen, like, Keats was very known for being a high-paced, up and down the court, system. Do you think that Wade kind of sticks to his guns a little bit, or do you think that he looks at the ACC and goes, like, what do I need to build in order to beat Carolina, to beat Duke, to beat Louisville, etc.?
Yeah, I think he's gonna look at a lot of that. I think he's gonna be looking for like an effective big man as well.
You got to have that. You got to have that in ACC this year and next year.
Especially if Cooper Flagg for some reason comes back, which
don't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised because he can make a lot off of NIL.
I've heard like $10 to $12 million, something like that, something stupid like that. So
But yeah, like a good example is like the Carolina game at home where we lost by 2. I mean, Jalen Washington was really good on the inside, and we couldn't score on the inside. It was all like Marcus Hill and Jaden Taylor doing their thing.
Yep, right. And here's my thing too, Michael, as well. I can't help but just foam at the mouth, thinking like, if I'm not, I said it last week. I said this would be the worst nightmare for Carolina if we hire Will Wade, in my opinion, because the only thing that they're hoping for is that we get another NCAA violation, because they're bringing it up on Twitter, be like, oh man, you hired the guy with the NCAA investigation, man. And it's like, listen, man, I'm taking Will Wade all day and twice on Tuesday already over Hubert Davis. I don't care. I can easily say that already, because literally alone, just in this tournament alone, Michael, Will Wade beat Clemson, and And Hubert Davis got really smoked in that Ole Miss game, and RJ Davis
and lost to Clemson. Clemson beat UNC,
right? Yeah. So I'm saying, listen, like if you look at it head to head, Will Wade had more success in the postseason alone. So I'm just and that's with the McNeese resources. Now I'm giving you NC State resources, and so I can't help but foam at the mouth a little bit, man, being like, ooh, man, I don't know how UNC fans aren't sweating right now.
I love how Carolina fans are talking about the violations that Will Wade had when they hired a football coach who had the Flakegate and Spygate behind him.
Yep.
So,
no, 100%.
And all Wade did is legal now.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just saying, just throwing that out there. But and hey, listen, I mean, like, UNC's definitely, made some commitment for sure to the football side. And thank goodness they did, because otherwise, man, like, if they had all their chips in the men's basketball basket right now, then really, like, you're losing RJ Davis, you're losing the heart and soul of your team, and you're gonna have to replace that. Like, that's gonna be tough. And basically the key is going to be handed to a really talented recruit that at the end of the day is going to be a true freshman. Like, in my opinion, that's going to be more likely the focal point of the team next year. And then Hubert's going to try and build around, the GM's going to try and build around that. But I don't know. We'll see. But I'm loving it. I'm excited. I can't wait for it. And I think Will Wade, with his energy, like, oh, he's gonna get fans so hype, like Salty Wade, like, like you got Salty Dave and Salty Wade. Let's make it happen.
He's from some of those old interviews. He's definitely he'll speak
his
mind
it
for
is.
Sure. Yeah.
Heck yeah. And how long do you think, Michael? How many years do you give until we rename Wade Avenue to Will Wade Avenue? I mean, just throw the Will in front of it. Wade Avenue, come on.
Might as well do it today.
That's what I'm saying. Like that picture of him in the car where they pass by the Wade Avenue sign. It's like, classic. Listen, man. Hey, if
meant to be.
I mean, like, if he does what state fans are thinking that he can accomplish, and really put a chokehold, put UNC, basketball on their heels a good bit, like, Will Wade Avenue, like, that'd be so sick. Especially with all the daggum, 2016, North Carolina, field hockey national champions, like all the signs and the Roy Williams, interstate or whatever it is, like, just UNC stuff all over the daggum place. It's just annoying as hell. So Will Wade Avenue.
They're celebrating all those lacrosse trophies for sure.
Heck yeah. My goodness. So children saying, how y'all feel about Cordier Copeland from McNeese State? You think that he comes with Will Wade, or
he may. I don't know if
didn't he play at Syracuse before?
Yeah. Yes, he was at Syracuse last year, and I could not stand him when he was at Syracuse.
Yeah,
that's right.
Game against us and was like chirping the fans and everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's the funny part, is that because I remember he was deep in the transfer talk conversations during this last offseason, and we were kind of borderline, and man, like, that's
yeah. I don't know. I could I think if he comes, I don't think you could pencil him in. Well, I guess it depends on what the rest of the roster looks like, but if he does come, I don't know if you would automatically be a starter right away. But there's definitely a place for him. Obviously, Wade used him well at McNeese. I think he was playing point guard by the end of the year because their point guard got hurt.
Yeah. So and my mom's coming in, but we don't have a GM yet for football, do we? Just basketball, right? Oh, we do.
Andy Vaughn. He's been there. I think since 20.
So he's been there a bit. Yeah, right. Yeah,
but
he's not a new one.
Yeah,
that's Andrew Slater. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, no, Andrew Slater is going to be a big one. Super, super excited about him. And so can't talk enough about it. Preacher Man saying, wait, wear a red blazer for the Carolina Duke games. Hey, listen, that's Classic, yeah, nope, that's a classic. So, but let's get to
Godfrey. Sidney Lowe definitely did it. Keats did it
time.
less, but Keats did it before.
Keats did it his first year.
Yeah,
Keats did his first year, and then Mark Godfrey, pulled it out once or twice as well. The all red blazer as well. So it's definitely a classic for NC State coaches, but it's definitely one you got to pick and choose for sure. Because obviously you're, that you're shouting out to some all time legendary, coaches right there for sure by doing that. So, anyway though, so Carson, Michael knows where I'm jumping next, but we're gonna jump right into some. I think the interesting part of the evening where we talk about, like you kind of mentioned earlier about how success in women's basketball, baseball, football, and men's basketball really feeds to all the other sports. And obviously there's a lot of Twitter conversation that has taken place specifically around wrestling, where it really started off with Isaac Trumbull basically saying, hey, we came off of a 125-pound national champion. Vince Robinson came off of a 2 top 7 individual finishes in the country, in the NCAA tournament, with Matt Singleton finished 7th in, overall, and then Isaac Trumbull finishing 4th overall. And we finished with the top 10 team finish, and the collective has not reached out to him at all yet. And then basically what ensued was just a barrage of comments from fans and etc. kind of supporting it for the most part, but here's my thing, and here's kind of so Carson, what's your initial thoughts on that? And then I know I have a little bit of statistics to kind of back my points up. I know Michael definitely has some thoughts from that we talked about in the group chat, but what are your initial thoughts on that, Carson, in terms of wrestling in Isaac Trumbull's opinion should get more love and respect from an NIL perspective after the performance that they've had this season and the last few years?
Yeah, I mean, from an NIL perspective, I think all sports should be given at least, some degree of attention.
Sure.
It's just a matter of like, when I say investing in the revenue sports, I mean like the university, not necessarily the NIL.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, NIL is pretty much just fan driven. And so that's the fans' responsibility to fund the programs that they love.
But then it's not the fans' decision sorry, let me say that. When you donate to NIL, you can choose if you want your money to go to a specific sport. That's one thing I want to make sure everybody knows. And that's honestly one of I know Michael and I's biggest points to that comment is like, listen, when you donate, said wrestling fan, you can say, I want to donate to NC State Wrestling this money, and it will go to that NC State Wrestling, period. Now, if you donate or just join the Wolfpack NIL collective, then that money goes to a variety of different sports depending on the needs that may come up, etc. Unless you join Savage Wolves, where if you join Savage Wolves, it goes directly to only to football. Yeah. So I mean, that's my initial thought. Now, I mean, but at the end of the day, like, there are basically 3 to 4 people that really decide where that money goes. There's basically 2 people that are actually employed as a part of Wolfpack NIL. There's Steve Williams from IPS that does, the huge supporting cast member with that. And then there's one other guy as well that kind of handles more on a GM/contract negotiation side as well. But I mean, really, it's only a couple of people that really are the ones running the show. But I mean, obviously with Chris Fernakis being the main general manager over everything. So my biggest thing, Carson, is listen, the saying goes, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And like where I'm sitting as, listen, Will Wade and men's basketball, that wheel's not squeaking. That wheel is like borderline, like hurricane siren, like tornado siren, just like screaming at you, like, we need the money, and you can't ignore it, because at the end of the day, if we're either going to make that move or we are not. It's simple as that. And one fell swoop, NC State said, nope, we're going to do it. So money's coming in, and all the focus is around getting that money and getting Will Wade here. Because also too, because everything as well is, I mean, like we don't know necessarily in terms of how concrete or like how like in writing it was for Will Wade to come. Like, I mean, there was definitely some concern. Like, you know, there was going to be a late push by Indiana and then a late push by Texas to try and get Will Wade. So listen, like, you know, let's continue to make the story even more solidified that nope, Will, like we are ready, man. We are ready to commit. We are ready to provide, like, you know, come on down. And so that unfortunately had to be the big focus. Now, yes, in the meantime, in the same weekend, you had some amazing success at NC State Wrestling. But here's my other thing to that as well. Well, actually, you know what? Before I say much more, Carson, I mean, like, what's your thoughts on? I've talked a little bit there about a couple different things. What's your thoughts on that? And then, Michael, I'll get you to rebuttal after Carson finishes. Go ahead, Carson. What's you're saying? Because of the squeaky wheel gets the oil kind of thing, you know, in terms of who gets the money.
Yeah, I mean, men's basketball is obviously very hot right now with all the Will Wade stuff. Hot. And so it's basketball, so it's obviously going to get a whole load of attention. And their season's over, right?
Right.
And so you have more time, and pretty much all the attention is built into planning the next season. Wrestling just ended their season like 2 days ago at Nationals. And so basketball has been given time for fans to think about, wrestling not necessarily.
Yep.
And so I think I like what Isaac did with calling out for the needed support.
Sure.
And I think it could benefit the program in a big way in a week or two.
Yeah. Michael, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of echo a lot of what you said. I think it's definitely important that wrestling gets their attention. I think, you know, Isaac probably could have done it in a little bit of a better way, but you know, he was trying to make a point, and he certainly made a point.
Mm-hmm. Definitely shook the tree, for sure.
Yeah. At the same time, you know, it's the day the new men's basketball coach is announced. That's going to be the priority. It just is. When you have limited resources like the collective does, they're going to focus on men's basketball the day the new coach is announced. You know, they put out a tweet with the link right directly to Sport Wrestling today with the graphic, a custom graphic. You know, they didn't just take some stock image. So, I mean, they definitely put some time into that and promoting that. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, they're still working with limited resources at the collective. Like, I'm not sure if people realize that, or it's like you said, it's literally 3 people. There's a couple more on the football side that you mentioned, but for the everything but football, there's 3 people that do everything, all the fundraising, you know, all organizing all the shipments and stuff, and that includes the social media. Yep. So I think it's just more of a kind of a resource constraint right now that they have to pick and choose their priorities, and it's unfortunate timing, but it is what it is, and wrestling definitely deserves their attention and promotion to you know, keep those guys and keep those recruits and new recruits and keep supporting that program, because we're a national program, one of the top 10 programs in the country. So
easily. Yeah, no, and definitely, Wolfpack NIL. Yep, just like you were talking about, Michael. Today at 1:00, put out a tweet asking people to donate towards wrestling, and even having Savage Wolves and Hayes Lancaster supporting it as well. And you know, from a Wolfpack NIL perspective, already that tweet itself already has about 20,000 views. So I mean, it's gotten a lot of publicity for sure. So hey, listen, bravo to Isaac. You know, at the end of the day, he got the job done. Like at the end of the day, like you were saying, Michael, you know, definitely could have been worded a little bit better. But you know, at the end of the day, listen, got the job done, and obviously a lot of emotion. Like, you know, definitely, you know, especially for him, like, you know, he really wrestled this whole postseason injured, not just hurt, but injured, and, you know, put himself completely out there to finish 4th in the country. And huge hats off to him, and excited about what he's going to bring next season. So listen, that was completely off of emotion, being like, hey, listen, like, this was written as this was written off as a rebuilding year, and we just we just finished the highest of any ACC program, even over Virginia Tech, at nationals. We had 3 top, 8 All-American finishes, like, a national champion that was a redshirt freshman, like, like, let's go, like, let's invest. And so huge hats off. Now, here's one thing I want to say, and Carson, I want to kind of get your thoughts on this, is that there's not only is it the squeaky wheel gets the oil, but also too, just like you were saying, like, there has to be conversations of what do you truly actually need to be competitive in your conference. Like, okay, you come to me and say, hey, listen, I need $500,000. I come to you and say, well, if I give you $250,000, will that make you competitive? In terms of from a national perspective? Yes, it will. Okay, great. Because if I were to come to Dave Dorn and say, how about I give you $250,000 for your NIL? Will that make you competitive? He would just laugh at us right in our face, right? I mean, like, and the point being is, like, listen, like, it just takes it takes a lot more money to be competitive in football than it does in wrestling. And to prove that point, no, go ahead, Michael, please. Because I'm about to go on a thing,
and basketball too. No, that's what I was going to say. Like,
yeah,
it's right. There's certain sports that you can succeed with a limited budget, and there's certain sports you can't. And wrestling is one of those that Papa's done it on a limited budget, which is great. And obviously, and it's tough. And I get it as an athlete. That's tough because those guys are. If you're basing it on results and who's like deserving more of the praise and more of the money, obviously the wrestling is at the top, but it's like it's just reality.
Then tennis and wrestling should get most of the money because I mean they're
cross country,
they're elite teams in the country. Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. No, it's just unfortunate. It doesn't always work like that, and that's just kind of what. Right, you direct the money towards what the fans have told you they care about, and unfortunately, that means football and men's basketball get the bulk of the promotion, and even if they are not the best teams in their sport, like wrestling is.
And I want to kind of finish this, and I'll kind of try and space it a little bit so I can get Carson and Michael get you guys. No. Like, no, it's good to add. I mean, like because I don't want to just sit here and talk for 10 minutes, even though like these points in total will probably take that long. But I think they're good points, and they come with some juice behind it, and the fact that it's not only from just my experiences of being part of fundraisers for wrestling, but also too speaking with a few different former NC State wrestlers as well, in terms of that really have their finger on the pulse for college wrestling and NC State wrestling. So kind of, kind of putting the cream on top for that point is that, speaking to a couple different former NC State wrestlers, they had said, because like I'd asked them, like, what are your thoughts on this? And I sent them the Isaac Trumbull tweet. And honestly, they said, I'm actually 70, like one in particular said, I'm 70% actually leaning towards the collective side, 30% towards Trumbull side. And I said, why? I said, well, I'll tell you why. That Nebraska, for example, like is in college wrestling, for those that are unaware, there's really 3 main wrestling programs that get an absorbent amount of money that's more than the average elite program compared to everybody else. And that's Oklahoma State, no shocker there. One of the most historic college wrestling programs of all time. Penn State, who's won 12, I think, of the last 15 team national titles. I mean, that's just been dominant. And Iowa. And so, I mean, basically it's those 3 in terms of, like, if you look at how much money is invested in wrestling programs, there's those 3. There's like about 20 feet of paper, and then there's everybody else. Like it is 9-day difference. And to prove that, like one of the Penn State assistant coaches makes $1 million a year, which I mean is
an assistant coach for wrestling. That's crazy.
Wrestling makes $1 million a year. Like just to prove the point there a little bit. But like he said, and the reason why I'm 70-30 is because Nebraska this year finished in the top 3 in the team standings, which, Nebraska has definitely some wrestling history for sure. So the question is going to be, and he said the reason why I'm 30 is if Nebraska takes the next step and invests in a significant fashion towards a wrestling program, then I'm going to feel for Trumbull and the NC State wrestling people, because I'm going to say, okay, they had some postseason success, they invest in their program, we should do the same as well. Simple as that. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be even to even, but it should be like, hey, listen, we're having success, we should invest if they invest. But if it's just kind of like status quo, everything continues as business as usual, where the top three are investing like crazy, Nebraska, us, Virginia Tech, Cornell are just business as usual, investing like we have been, then okay, I don't think that Isaac has too much to stand on. But because the reason why, literally, and to kind of put numbers to that statement, so let me just ask you. I mean, I've kind of thrown out some numbers, in terms of how the Penn State system makes $1 million a year. Like Carson, if you were to take a guess on, and let me know if you know this, but if you were to take a guess on how much money in general is spent total for an entire wrestling team that is a top 10, top 15 team in the country, how much money in total do you think from budget is spent NIL perspective on a wrestling team like that? You got to guess.
Just NIL?
Just NIL. Only NIL.
$2 million.
Okay. Michael, what's your guess?
That's what I was gonna say. Probably $2 million. I don't know. That just seems like a lot. So yeah,
it is about 150 to 200,000 total.
What?
Like the total team? Yeah, the total team, whole team. Like the former wrestler said, if you spend above $150,000, $200,000, then that's a lot for a whole team. Yeah. Now keep in mind, so like that. So first of all, I appreciate y'all actually thinking that, just because I think that kind of really puts everything into perspective here for sure. Is that, I mean, you have pretty much your whole starting lineup for football and basketball individually making more than that, per year, much less a whole team encompassing making that much money. But also too, as well, to prove that point as well, is that, and this is kind of the other reason for me why it's tough for wrestling, is wrestling's a different beast, where not only do you have to invest in Wolfpack Club, so in terms of coaching salaries, upgrades, facilities, things like that, you do have NIL, but you also have the Wolfpack RTC as well, which is the regional training center, which is basically the facilities and staff dedicated towards helping wrestlers compete at the national Olympic level. So like for example, Isaac went last season, won a world championship. Well, that's a part of the RTC side of the program, not the college side of the program. So that's kind of another different beast as well, is that a lot of fundraising from NC State wrestling is actually towards the RTC side, really more than it is the NIL side. So like all the confusion people had about, well, wait, should I donate to Wolfpack or Savage Wolves? And it's like, well, which is it? Well, now you got, for wrestling, you got three. You got RTC, NIL, and Wolfpack Club / fundraising. So, make your head spin a little bit more. So
and that's a good point. I think out of all the non-revenue sports, I feel like wrestling does kind of do the best at fundraising, because I know we that Wolfpack RTC, you've done stuff with them and gone to their events, and I don't maybe it's just me being naive, but I don't know of another non-revenue sport that has a supporting or separate organization like that already.
Right. Well, and because here's the other thing too as well, which is kind of tough with wrestling, is that just to kind of put into retrospect of how dominant Penn State really is right now, not only have they won 12 of the last 15 team national titles, but literally the Team USA Olympic Regional Training Center, so literally the RTC area where all current Team USA Olympians train, is literally the Penn State, is literally on Penn State's campus. Kyle Schneider, all the guys that you're seeing compete for Team USA, you know, every 4 years on NBC, those guys train for the most part at Penn State. And it's and they're actually paid by Penn State to come and train. So literally like Carter Storocci, I saw an interview with him, who he's the first ever and probably will only be the only ever 5-time national champion. And he literally said in an interview that their training is way tougher than anything he ever competes against in the ordinary college circuit, because he's training against Olympic athletes. But yet,
right.
You know, from a college perspective, like nobody can even give him that competition, you know? So it's just that's my other reason why it's tough for wrestling. Because if I were to say, all right, Pat Popolicio, what is it going to take for you to beat Penn State? I don't think we could realistically give that to him. You know what I mean?
Or you just can't. Like sometimes there's just too much tradition and history, and but I don't know. It all kind of comes back to wrestling, right? They deserve their promotion and their recognition, and at the same time, the fans decide where the money goes. Like if you're aware of the collective and you want to donate to wrestling, you can donate to wrestling. You don't have to wait for a tweet to come out from Wolfpack saying donate to wrestling. If you're aware of it, right? If you're not aware of it, and that's very fair. Like there's definitely a ton of the fan base who isn't aware of the collectives yet. It's still new. But in general, that's just promoting it in general, which I think they do a pretty good job of. But when it comes to driving donations to a specific sport, right, that's going to be up to the fans on what they want and what they want to prioritize. Yeah, absolutely. So Carson, I mean, like, you know, would you say now that you have a new, you know, new shade of glasses that you're looking through now at NC State athletics? Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's nice. It's nice. I mean, it's good. It's good things to think about, you know. So, but listen, it's and so that's why I like Chris Vernakis. Like, my hat's off to you. Like, it's an insanely tough job. I can't imagine dealing with it. Yeah, they deserve a shout out too. I know. Yeah, a lot of people aren't happy with them because of the wrestling, but they definitely have done some good work, especially on this basketball, men's basketball. Before we get off wrestling, I'd say you were going to pull up that. Yeah, is wrestling assumed non-revenue? Yes, even though season tickets are sold out, yes, it still is actually non-revenue. Yeah. But I think everything but football, men's basketball, and women's basketball, right? I think every other sport technically loses money. Those three pay for all the other sports. Women's basketball is because Carson, the women's basketball has crossed that line as being a revenue sport, right? For sure. Yeah. So yeah, especially in like the last 5 years or so. Yeah. And it's more of because like, even though my mom points out that season tickets for wrestling are sold out, it's more of this piece in terms of the national publicity money that we get. That's where the money comes in when you get it on TV. That's really what makes women's basketball the revenue side, is the national money that we're getting for the TV contracts. So, but Michael, what were you going to say about before we get off wrestling? That Gable Stevenson upset. That was crazy. Well, and it's funny for those that like in Carson, like, you know, do you know much about this Gable Stevenson upset? Do you know much about it? No, not really. Oh, good, perfect. I need some depth. It's like you probably know better than me, Layton, but I would put it in terms of like App State over Michigan type upset. Yes. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. I mean, like Carson, literally. So Gable Stevenson, he was a 2-time national champion in 2022, 2023. He retired last year, even though he had eligibility left. Like, he did this whole thing. Like, typically, like, if you're like an Olympic athlete and you retire as a wrestler, you usually will like take your shoes, take your boots off and leave them at the center of the mat, and that's kind of like your ritual of like retiring. Well, Gable Stevenson, after winning that second national title, he did that. Because he had already signed a 7-figure deal with WWE to go wrestle. Well, he ended up getting cut by the WWE, and he actually tried out for the Buffalo Bills, even though he never played organized football before. I didn't know that. And he got cut.
But literally, Carson, even starting in 2022, when he first started on his run, he went undefeated through 2022, 2023, and this season. He was on a 70-match winning streak. This season, Carson, he did not give up one takedown. He did not give up one takedown to a single opponent the whole season. And so literally, yes, no, this season, like Wyatt Hendrickson from Oklahoma State beating Gable Stevenson is easily the biggest upset in college wrestling. And that comes off of 2 years ago. We just experienced what many were saying at that time was the biggest upset in college wrestling history, where Spencer Lee, the 3-time national champion at 125 from Iowa, got pinned in the semifinals, got pinned. And that was the biggest upset at the time. But this was way bigger than that. Like,
was it in the final? Was it in the final match?
National championship. Okay. Yep, national championship match, and Wyatt got the takedown with like 45 seconds left to win, 5-4. I think the final score was. So only took one takedown, but Wyatt made it count and beat him. And yeah, it was that big. For those that are not sure what it is, like, go back and watch it. Listen to the commentators. Watch the fans. Like, it didn't matter if you were a Northern Iowa fan or a Penn State fan or whatever, or if you were just there. Like, every single fan, if you watch it, was freaking out. Because besides the Minnesota fan, because that's where Gable Stevenson goes, they were shocked, probably to say the least. But I mean, like, literally, like, I would have told you there's only three things you can count on: death, Texas, and a Gable Stevenson national championship. Like Gable Stevenson, he just won an Olympic gold medal. Like, not like
best
not like
in the world,
not like a U-25 gold medal, like the Olympics,
world champion.
What? Yes, yeah. Sorry, yeah. Like against like the greatest wrestlers, no matter what age you are, he won a gold medal. Like, he beat Nick Wisdowski easily 2 or 3 different times, and that's the guy that we say is our greatest NC State wrestler of all time, and that's fact. But even a guy that's 6 years older than Gable Stevenson, and Gable's handled Nick Wiz every single time, and that guy just lost. It's insane, and in a college match.
All right, and it's not just lost; it's literally taken down to the mat.
Taken down. It's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah. And Preacher Man even saying that actually he didn't get taken down this year. He didn't get taken down in 2023 when he last competed. Yeah. Like, it's crazy. So anyway, though, Carson, what's your final thoughts, man? Any final thing? I know that I've obviously talked a good bit here, but hopefully it was at least, helpful, say at least. So, Carson, what's your thoughts here, brother?
Is this wrestling or just overall?
Overall, man. Let's wrap it up here a little bit.
Yeah, shout out to men's tennis. Ranked number 5 right now, and they won 2 matches over the weekend. Shout out to softball, got another ACC series.
Nice.
Yeah, that's right. That big one. But it's Boston College. That was a good one too.
Yeah, that's a big confidence booster for them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mike, what about for you, man? Any final thoughts here, brother?
No. I mean, press conference tomorrow for Will Wade. I think it's being streamed. I thought I saw somebody say on ACC Network. I mean, it'll definitely be like online, but I don't know if they would put it on ACC Network. But either way, tomorrow, 1:00 in Reynolds. It's private, but I think they said afterwards he'll be outside Reynolds. Fans can go 3:00 for take photos and everything. So, yeah.
Hopefully, Will Wade knows what he's getting into for that. He's going to be there for a little bit. Hope he doesn't have dinner plans.
Right.
So, anyway, well, hey, Preacher Man, Chilton, Mama Smith, appreciate you all. Y'all are the best. Appreciate y'all tuning in here. Again, while there's a will, there's a way. What a great time to be an NC State fan. Hope everybody enjoys yourself for sure. Again, enjoy this time. It's an exciting time to be an NC State fan. It's always a great time to be an NC State fan, but times like this are times where it's very easy to say that. But as always, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you enjoyed this, if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen to us, please leave us a 5-star review. Greatly appreciate that as well. And make sure to follow us at Tuffy Talk now on Twitter and Instagram. But with that being said, we appreciate y'all, and we'll see y'all soon. And as always, go Pack, y'all, and let's